The morning rain drummed against the windows of Sunnyside Cafe as Sophia Bennett wiped down tables for the third time that hour. Her brown hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and coffee stains decorated her yellow apron like badges of exhaustion. At 24, she had the tired eyes of someone carrying burdens far beyond her years. Her phone buzzed with another reminder about her mother's medical bills. The cancer treatments were draining every penny she earned from her 2 jobs. Working as a waitress during the day and cleaning offices at night barely kept them afloat, but Sophia refused to give up hope. Table 7 needs their check, called Marcus, the grumpy manager who seemed to enjoy making her life difficult. Sophia forced a smile and grabbed the receipt pad, weaving through the crowded cafe toward the businessman in the expensive suit. As she approached his table, movement outside the window caught her attention. 2 men in black suits were dragging something heavy toward a black van parked in the alley behind the cafe. Her blood ran cold when she realized the something was actually someone. A man in bloodied clothes who wasn't moving. The businessman at table 7 was still waiting. But Sophia's hands trembled as she watched one of the men pull out a gun and check the body. Her gasp was loud enough to draw attention from nearby customers. "Miss, could I get my check, please?" the businessman asked impatiently. Sophia tried to act normal, but her eyes kept darting to the window. The men were looking around now, scanning the area for witnesses. One of them pointed directly at the cafe window, where she stood frozen. Their eyes met through the glass. Panic flooded her system like ice water. The man nudged his partner and both started walking toward the cafe entrance. Sophia dropped the receipt pad and backed away from the window. "I need to take my break," she called to Marcus, not waiting for permission as she untied her apron and rushed toward the back exit. The alley was empty now, except for a dark stain on the concrete where the body had been.
Ow.
Sophia's heart pounded. As she ran toward the main street, her sneakers splashing through puddles, she could hear heavy footsteps behind her, getting closer. The Grand Plaza Hotel loomed ahead, its golden entrance promising safety among crowds of wealthy guests. Sophia burst through the revolving doors, her uniform marking her as clearly out of place among the designer suits and evening gowns. She didn't slow down until she crashed directly into someone coming out of the hotel bar. The impact sent them both stumbling, but strong arms caught her before she could fall. "I'm so sorry," she gasped, looking up into the most incredible blue eyes she'd ever seen. The man was tall with dark hair, perfectly styled despite the early hour. His charcoal suit probably cost more than her monthly rent, and his watch caught the lobby lights like captured starlight. He was devastatingly handsome in a way that made her forget how to breathe properly. "Are you hurt?" he asked, his voice smooth and concerned as he steadied her. Behind them, Sophia spotted the 2 men from the alley pushing through the revolving doors. They were scanning the lobby with predatory focus. Desperation made her bold. "You're my husband," she blurted out, grabbing the stranger's arm. His eyebrows shot up. "Excuse me?" "Please," she whispered urgently, seeing the men getting closer. "Just play along. I'm in trouble." Something in her terrified expression must have convinced him, because he immediately wrapped his arm around her waist and pulled her close. "Darling," he said loudly enough for half the lobby to hear, "there you are. Was wondering where you'd gone." The 2 men stopped their search when they saw her wrapped in the arms of an obviously wealthy stranger. They exchanged glances and backed off, presumably unwilling to cause a scene in such an upscale venue. "Thank you," Sophia breathed against his chest, inhaling the expensive cologne that made her head spin. "Don't thank me yet," he murmured into her hair. "I think we're both in more trouble than you realize." She looked up at him confused, but he was watching something over her shoulder. Following his gaze, she saw 3 different men in suits had entered the lobby and were also scanning for someone. "Friends of yours?" she asked weakly. "Not exactly. I'm Lucas Hamilton, by the way."
Surprise.
Smile was grim, but somehow still charming. "And you just became my wife at a very interesting time." Sophia Bennett. "And what do you mean interesting?" Lucas guided her toward the elevator bank, moving with casual confidence despite the obvious danger. "Oh, Mrs. Hamilton, it seems we're both being hunted by people who don't like to take no." For an answer, the elevator arrived with a soft ding, and Lucas ushered her inside. As the doors closed, Sophia caught a glimpse of both groups of men converging in the lobby, looking frustrated and confused. I don't understand, she said, as they rose toward the upper floors. Who are those men? Some of them work for Vincent. Cross, a man who doesn't appreciate being told he can't buy whatever he wants. Lucas's jaw tightened, including my company and apparently my life. Your company. Hamilton Technologies. We develop software for financial markets. He looked at her with those incredible blue eyes. 3 days ago, I discovered my business partner sold us out to Cross without my knowledge. When I tried to back out of the deal, things got violent. The elevator stopped at the penthouse level, and the men following me. Probably Cross's people too. He doesn't like loose ends. Lucas led her down a hallway lined with expensive art. What did you see? Sophia. Her voice was barely a whisper. I think I witnessed a murder. Lucas stopped walking and turned to face her completely, and we're definitely both in serious trouble. He used a keycard to open a door marked Presidential Suite. The room beyond was enormous, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city and furniture that belonged in a magazine spread. You're staying here? She asked, looking around the opulent space. I own the hotel. Its casual admission made her feel dizzy. It's one of many investments. Not exactly the romantic getaway I'd planned for my fake honeymoon. Ow. Sophia sank onto a cream-colored sofa that was softer than her entire bed at home. This is insane. This morning I was worried about affording groceries. Now I'm hiding from murderers while pretending to be married to someone who owns hotels. Lucas poured himself a drink from a crystal decanter and offered her one. She shook her head, needing to stay sharp. Tell me exactly what you saw, he said gently. Sitting across from her, she described the scene outside the cafe. The blood, the way the men had looked right at her through the window. Lucas's expression grew darker with each detail. Crosses. Eliminating witnesses to cover his tracks. Well, that body was probably someone who got too close to discovering his real business operations. He set down his glass with deliberate care. He won't stop looking for you, Sophia. And now that you've been seen with me, you're connected to both problems. What are we going to do? We're going to disappear. Lucas's smile returned, but there was steel behind it. I have resources, safe houses, people who owe me favors. But it means leaving your old life behind, at least temporarily. Sophia thought about her tiny apartment, her demanding jobs, the mountain of bills waiting on her kitchen table. Then she thought about her mother in the hospital, depending on her. I can't just vanish. My mother needs her treatments, and I have responsibilities. I'll take care of your mother's medical expenses, Lucas said without hesitation. The best doctors, private rooms, whatever she needs. I can't let you do that. We barely know each other. You saved my life today by providing the perfect cover. Let me save yours in return. He moved to sit beside her on the sofa. Besides, I'm starting to think this fake marriage might be the best thing that's ever happened to me. There was something in his voice that made her look at him more carefully. Despite the danger and the insanity of their situation, there was genuine warmth in his eyes when he looked at her. You're serious about all this? Deadly serious? Cross won't give up, and neither will I. Lucas reached for her hand. I know this is crazy, but I have a feeling we make a pretty good team, Mrs. Hamilton, the way he said her fake married name. Sent unexpected butterflies dancing through her stomach. This morning she'd been invisible, struggling, alone. Now she was sitting in a penthouse suite with a man who looked at her like she was the most important person in his world. So what happens now, Mr. Hamilton? Now we pack light and get out of the city before Cross figures out where we are.
Lucas
Stood and extended his hand to her. I hope you like boats, because we're about to take the most expensive cruise of your life. As Sophia took his hand and let him pull her to her feet, she realized her boring, difficult life had just taken a turn into something that felt like a fairy tale mixed with an action movie, and despite the terror and uncertainty, she'd never felt more alive. The private jet soared through clouds 30,000 feet above the Atlantic Ocean. Sophia pressed her face to the window, watching the world shrink below them like a miniature model. She'd never been on a plane before, let alone one with cream, leather seats, and a full bar. Where are we going exactly? She asked Lucas, who was working on a laptop across the aisle. My private island near the Bahamas. It's completely off the grid. No cell towers, no internet connection to the outside world. He closed the laptop and moved to sit beside her. Cross can't track us there. Sophia still felt like she was living in someone else's dream. 24 hours ago, her biggest worry was whether she could afford both groceries and her bus fare. Now she was wearing designer clothes that Lucas had somehow acquired in the 30 minutes it took them to leave the S hotel. "Tell me more about this Vincent Cross," she said, accepting a glass of champagne from Lucas. His expression darkened. "Cross owns legitimate businesses on the surface, but underneath he runs one of the most sophisticated criminal organizations on the East Coast. Money laundering, corporate blackmail, worse things." Lucas took a long sip of his drink. "My business." Partner David owed Cross gambling debts. Instead of paying with money, he offered Cross something more valuable: your company. Now, the algorithm we developed can predict stock market movements with 94% accuracy. On the wrong hands, it could manipulate entire economies. Lucas's hand found hers. "When I discovered the betrayal and refused to hand over the codes, Cross decided to take a more direct approach." Sophia squeezed his fingers. "How long have you been running from him?" 6 months. I've been moving between safe houses, using different identities, staying one step ahead." His blue eyes met hers. "Until yesterday, I was doing it alone." The way he looked at her made her heart skip. There was something beyond gratitude in his expression, something that made her stomach flutter with possibilities she'd never dared imagine. "What about your family? Don't they worry about you?" Lucas's smile turned sad. "My parents died in a car accident 3 years ago. It's just me and my company now, or it was, until I met a certain beautiful waitress who changed everything." Heat rose in Sophia's cheeks. She wasn't used to compliments, especially from men who looked like they'd stepped out of a magazine. "I'm not beautiful, Lucas. I'm just ordinary." "You're extraordinary," he said simply. "You saved my life without thinking about your own safety, and you're handling this impossible situation with more grace than most people could manage." Before she could respond, the pilot's voice crackled over the intercom. "Mr. Hamilton, we'll be landing in 20 minutes." The island was everything Lucas had promised. White sand beaches surrounded crystal clear water, and palm trees swayed in the tropical breeze. The house was a modern masterpiece of glass and wood that seemed to grow out of the landscape itself. "It's paradise," Sophia breathed as they walked up the stone pathway. "It's home, at least for now." Lucas carried their bags inside, where floor-to-ceiling windows offered panoramic views of the ocean. The next few days fell into an unexpectedly comfortable routine. They cooked meals together in the gourmet kitchen, swam in the infinity pool, and talked for hours on the beach. Sophia learned that beneath his billionaire exterior, Lucas was funny, kind, and surprisingly down-earth. "You know," she said one evening, as they watched the sunset from the deck, "if someone had told me a week ago that I'd be relaxing on a private island with a man who owns half of Manhattan, I'd have suggested therapy." Lucas laughed, the sound warm and genuine. "If someone had told me I'd find the woman of my dreams while running from corporate assassins, I'd have agreed with your therapy recommendation." The words hung in the air between them. Sophia's breath caught as Lucas moved closer on the outdoor sofa where they were sitting. "Woman of your dreams," she whispered. "From the moment you crashed into me in that hotel lobby, you've been all I can think about." His hand cupped her cheek gently. "I know this situation is crazy, but what I feel for you is real, Sophia." Before she could second-guess herself, she leaned into his touch. "I feel it too. I've never felt anything like this before." Their lips met in a kiss that was gentle at first, then deeper as months of loneliness and fear melted away. When they finally separated, both were breathing hard. Sophia Lucas began, but the sound of a helicopter interrupted him. They pulled apart, alarm replacing passion instantly. The helicopter was black and unmarked, circling the island like a predator. "That's not one of mine," Lucas said grimly, pulling her to her feet. The aircraft landed on the beach, and 6 men in tactical gear emerged. Even from a distance, Sophia could see the weapons they carried. "How did they find us?" she asked, fear making her voice shake. "Cross has resources I underestimated." Lucas was already moving, grabbing a bag from a hidden closet. "We need to get to the boat now." They ran through the house toward the private dock where Lucas kept a speedboat. Behind them, the sound of breaking glass indicated their pursuers had reached the house. "There." Lucas pointed to the gleaming white boat moored at the end of the dock. They were halfway there when the first gunshot rang out. The wooden planks near Sophia's feet exploded into splinters. "Stay low," Lucas shouted, pushing her behind. Piling for cover, more shots followed, the sound echoing across the water. Lucas returned fire with a handgun he'd pulled from the bag, buying them precious seconds. "Can you swim?" he asked urgently. "Not well enough to reach another island?" "The boat then." "On my count, we run for it." His eyes were intense with determination. 3, 2, 1, go. They sprinted the remaining distance to the boat as bullets whined overhead. Lucas threw Sophia aboard and leaped after her, starting the engines with practiced efficiency. The powerful motors roared to life, and the boat shot away from the dock like a rocket. Behind them, the men on shore continued firing, but they were quickly out of range. "Where are we going now?" Sophia shouted over the engine noise. "Miami. I have allies there, people who can help us disappear permanently." Lucas guided the boat through the choppy waters with expert skill. As the island shrank behind them, Sophia realized their brief paradise was over. The real world, with all its dangers and complications, had found them again. But looking at Lucas's determined profile as he navigated toward an uncertain future, she knew she wouldn't trade places with anyone. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The Miami skyline appeared on the horizon as the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Sophia had never seen anything more beautiful or terrifying. "Lucas," she said, moving to stand beside him at the wheel. "Yeah, whatever happens next, I want you to know that these past few days have been the best of my life." He turned to look at her, love and determination warring in his blue eyes. "They're just the beginning. Sophia, I promise you that." As they raced toward the city and whatever fate awaited them there, Sophia held on to that promise with both hands. Her ordinary life was gone forever, but maybe, just maybe, something extraordinary was waiting to take its place. The boat cut through the waves toward Miami, carrying them toward their destiny and the final confrontation with Vincent Cross that would determine whether their love story would have a happy ending or become a tragedy written in blood. The Miami Marina buzzed with evening activity as Lucas guided their speedboat into a secluded slip. Sophia's hands still trembled from their escape. She felt safer with each mile they'd put between themselves and Cross's men. "My friend James owns a yacht repair business here," Lucas explained, helping her onto the dock. "Was me a favor?" From our college days, a tall man with graying hair and kind eyes approached them. "Lucas, you look like hell," he said with a worried smile. "It's been a rough few days." Lucas embraced his friend warmly. "James Mitchell meets Sophia Bennett." "Sophia, James is the one person in Miami I trust completely." James shook her hand with genuine warmth. "Any friend of Lucas's family to me? Come on, let's get you somewhere safe." They followed James to a weathered office building overlooking the water. Inside, the space was surprisingly comfortable, with nautical decorations and the smell of salt air drifting through open windows. "Cross's people have been asking questions all over the city," James said, pouring coffee for his guests. "They know. You're here, Lucas." "How much time do we have?" Lucas asked grimly. "Maybe a day, 2, at most." James studied Sophia with concern. "Is she worth dying for, old friend?" Lucas didn't hesitate. "She's worth everything." The simple certainty in his voice made Sophia's heart race. She'd never imagined someone could feel that strongly about her, especially someone who could have any woman in the world. "Then we better make sure you both live to see tomorrow, James." Said with determination, they spent the next hour planning their escape. James had contacts who could provide new identities, but it would take time they might not have. As they discussed details, Sophia noticed Lucas growing more tense. "What aren't you telling me?" she asked when they were alone on James's boat later. That evening, Lucas stared out at the glittering lights of Miami Beach. "Cross contacted me an hour ago. He's willing to make a deal." Ice formed in Sophia's stomach. "What kind of deal?" "He'll let you go free if I turn myself and the algorithm over to him." Lucas's jaw was tight with controlled fury. "He knows exactly how to hurt me now." "No." The word came out fiercer than Sophia intended. "Absolutely not."
Sophia, you don't understand what he's capable of."
"I understand that I'm not letting you sacrifice yourself for me." She grabbed his hands, forcing him to look at her. "We're in this together, remember?" Before Lucas could respond, James burst onto the deck, We have a problem. Cross just took. Someone important to you, Sophia. Her blood ran cold. What do you mean? Your roommate Alina Martinez? Cross's people grabbed her from your apartment an hour ago. James's expression was grim. He's using her as bait. Sophia felt the world tilt sideways. Alina was her best friend since childhood, the sister she'd never had. The thought of her in Cross's hands made her physically sick. He wants to meet, James continued. Tomorrow night at his warehouse on the docks, you come alone or your friend dies. I'm going, Sophia said immediately. Like hell you are. Lucas's voice was steel. Cross will kill you both the moment he has what he wants. Then what do you suggest? Sophia's voice cracked with desperation. Let Alina die because of me. Lucas pulled her into his arms, his own pain evident. We'll figure something out. I won't let him hurt either of you. That night, Sophia couldn't sleep. She stood on the boat's deck, watching the city lights reflect on the dark water. Lucas found her there just before dawn. I've been thinking, he said softly, wrapping his arms around her from behind. About what? About how my life was just work and money before I met you. Empty meetings, meaningless acquisitions, no real purpose. His lips brushed her ear. You changed everything, Sophia. You made me remember what it feels like to be alive. Back against his chest, drawing comfort from his warmth. You've saved me too. From a life where I was invisible, where nothing I did mattered. Everything you do matters. Lucas turned her in his arms. You matter more than any fortune, any business, empire, any algorithm. As the sun rose over Miami, painting the sky in brilliant shades of gold and pink, Lucas dropped to one knee on the deck. Sophia Bennett, will you marry me for real this time? Her breath caught as he pulled out a ring that caught the morning. Light like captured fire. Lucas, I know it's crazy. I know we've only known each other a week, but I also know that I want to spend whatever time we have left making you happy. His blue eyes were intense with emotion.
Say yes.
And I'll spend the rest of my life proving you made the right choice. Tears blurred her vision as she looked. Down at this incredible man who'd turned her world upside down in the best possible way? Yes, she whispered. Yes, 1,000 times yes. He slipped the ring onto her finger and stood to kiss her as the sun painted them both in golden light. It was perfect and beautiful and terrifying because they both knew it might also be goodbye now. Lucas said against her lips, Let's go save Alina and end this thing with Cross once and for all. The warehouse district was exactly as ominous. As Sophia had expected, abandoned buildings cast long shadows in the evening light, and the air smelled of rust and decay. Lucas parked their car a block away from Cross's location. Remember the plan, he said, checking the communication device James had given them. I go in first. Keep cross-talking while you and James get into position. Sophia's voice was steadier than she felt. The police will be here in 20 minutes. Detective Rachel Torres had been very interested when James contacted her about Cross's location. Apparently, she'd been building a case against him for years. I love you, Mrs. Hamilton, Lucas said, using her real married name for the first time. I love you too, Mr. Hamilton. The warehouse was cavernous and dimly lit, filled with shipping, containers, and the echo of Sophia's footsteps. Vincent Krause waited in the center of the space, a man in his 50s with silver hair and cold eyes. Alina sat tied to a chair beside him, conscious but clearly terrified Sophia. Alina called out, relief evident in her voice. Let her go, Cross, Sophia said, stopping 20 feet away. I'm here like you wanted, Cross smiled. But there was no warmth in it. Where's your billionaire husband? He's not coming. This is between us. I don't think so. Cross pulled out a gun and aimed it at Alina. You see, I've decided I want both the algorithm and revenge. Hamilton humiliated me by refusing my generous offer. The only thing humiliating here is a man who threatens innocent people. Lucas's voice rang out from somewhere in the shadows. Cross spun around, trying to locate the source of the voice. Show yourself, Hamilton. Let the women go first. I don't negotiate with people who cost me millions of dollars. Cross's finger tightened on the trigger. That's when all hell broke loose. James appeared from behind a shipping container, tackling Cross from the side. The gun went off, the bullet ricocheting harmlessly off metal. Lucas emerged from his hiding spot, running toward Alina to untie her bonds. Cross recovered faster than expected. Pulling a backup weapon and aiming it at Lucas, time seemed to slow. As Sophia watched the man she loved in mortal danger, without thinking, she grabbed a metal pipe from the ground and swung it at Cross's arm just as he fired. The bullet went wide, and Cross howled in pain. Police freeze. Detective Torres's voice boomed through the warehouse as armed officers poured in from multiple entrances. The next few minutes were chaos. Cross and his remaining men were arrested. Alina was freed and checked by paramedics, and statements were given to what felt like dozens of law enforcement officers. "It's over," Lucas said, pulling Sophia into his arms as the last police car drove away. "Cross is going to prison for a very long time, and his organization is finished." Alina, despite her ordeal, managed a weak smile. "So this is the billionaire you ran away with. He's cute, Sophia." "He's mine," Sophia replied, surprising herself with the possessiveness in her voice. "Hey. Forever," Lucas agreed, kissing the top of her head. 6 months later, Sophia stood in her mother's hospital room, watching the older woman smile as she held her daughter's hand. The cancer was in remission thanks to the best medical care money could buy. "Are you happy, Mia?" her mother asked in accented English. Sophia looked through the window where Lucas was talking with the doctor in the hallway. He caught her eye and winked, making her heart flutter the same way it had that first day in the hotel lobby. "Happier than I ever dreamed possible," she answered truthfully. That evening, as they walked along the beach behind their new home in the Hamptons. It was smaller than Lucas's island paradise, but perfect for starting their life together. "Any regrets?" Lucas asked, swinging their joined hands between them. Sophia thought about her old life, the struggle and worry that had defined every day. Then she looked at her husband, brilliant and kind, and completely devoted to making her happy. "Just one," she said with a mischievous smile. Lucas stopped walking, concern flickering across his features. "What? I regret that it took a murder and corporate assassins for us to meet. Imagine how much more fun the story would be if we just bumped into each other at a coffee shop like normal people." Lucas threw back his head and laughed, the sound carrying across the water. "Mrs. Hamilton, nothing about us was ever going to be normal." "Good," Sophia said, standing on her toes to kiss him. "Normal is overrated anyway." As the sun set over the ocean, painting the sky in brilliant colors, Sophia reflected on the incredible journey that had brought them together. She'd grabbed a stranger and claimed he was her husband to save her life, never dreaming she'd found her actual husband in the process. Sometimes the best fairy tales began with the most desperate moments, and sometimes when you least expected it. Love found a way to turn even the darkest situation into the brightest beginning. Their love story had started with fear and deception, but it had become something real and beautiful and unbreakable. And that, Sophia thought, as Lucas spun her around on the beach while seagulls called overhead, was worth more than all the money in the world. The end.